Welcome back to the second part in our three-part series to show you how to take your GarageBand drums from this to this. Dull and lifeless, huge and real, am I right? Welcome to the band guide. I'm your band guide, Colin. In the first part of the series, I showed you how to add a realistic space around your drums. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add punch and make them sound huge and real. Let's make it happen. All right, before we get started today, I want to give you something. I have a completely free guide that helps you make GarageBand drums sound real. It has all the things that we've covered in this video series, but it also has a few more tips and tricks that really help you get full control over your GarageBand drums. And it's just a simple step-by-step checklist. So it's something, it walks you through everything, but it gives it to you nice and simple and clear. There's a link in the description below. You can download that. It's completely free. I want to help you out to make the most out of your GarageBand drums. But today, let's go ahead and dive in, and we're going to add punch to these drums. Punch is a huge part of a drum mix. That's how you feel the drums. It adds so much to the drum sound. Last week we added the space. We took the drums and put them in a real space, so they didn't just sound like they're in GarageBand, they sound like they're in a real room. This week we're going to add the punch. There's several ways to add punch, but probably the most common, and definitely my favorite, is parallel compression. And I remember when I first heard parallel compression, that sounded technical and scary. But it's very easy. It's very simple. The whole idea is just that you have parallel processing. And all parallel processing means is that you have the main drum sound, the main sound of the source, and then you are processing it differently on a parallel track. So we've already been doing that with the reverb. So those are parallel processing with reverb. Parallel compression is just that. We're going to compress this track way more than we want the main drums to sound. But then when we blend them in, it's going to be the best of both worlds. So when you overcompress, you get a lot of tone, and you get a lot of punch, and you really feel, because you're smashing the transient, the initial hit. You're making that smaller, and you're bringing up everything else. So instead of just a really quick bump for every drum hit, you get this really fat bump for every drum hit, right? So you literally get longer tone. You get more tone out of every hit. Now, with parallel compression, the whole goal is to go too far. We want to over-compress this drum track, but then we're going to mix it into this not completely uncompressed, but minimally compressed drum track, and we're going to add a lot of punch and a lot of body to the drum tone by doing this. So it's very simple. We're going to go ahead and dive in and take care of that. It's going to be really easy. It's going to be really fun. So we'll start by taking our drum track. We're going to duplicate it. We'll go ahead and move it down here to the bottom. We're going to title this P-Comp, Parallel Compression. Option click drag this, so now we have just the same as the original here. All right, I'm going to hit B to bring up the smart control window. Now we'll keep it soloed. With parallel compression, we don't need this multipressor on here. We're going to go ahead and turn that off. The other thing about parallel compression is, at least in my opinion, it doesn't really help the cymbals much. So especially because GarageBand gives us an option to take the cymbals off, I'm just going to take the cymbals off. So all that the parallel compression is going to be hitting is the kick, snare, and toms. If you're working with real drums, you have to try to gate things really well to cut out how much cymbal is getting into your parallel compression. We don't have to worry about that. It's as simple as, oh, there's no more hi-hat, oh, there's no more cymbals. So I've turned those things off, and now all we are left with is awesome, right? Very simple, very easy. So we have just the drums. We're going to go and just use our stock GarageBand compressor. This isn't a fancy compressor. This is what was already on the drum track. We're just going to use it a little bit differently. So I generally am going to not encourage you to rely on presets. Not use presets, but don't rely on presets, because presets don't know how your drum part or how your part in the song sounds. But sometimes presets can be really helpful. They can give you creative tools, they can give you good jumping off points. In particular, GarageBand's plugins, a lot of times the presets are actually doing different things behind the scenes. So it's not just, sometimes presets are just setting the settings at specific settings. But with GarageBand's compressors, it's actually unlocking different types of compressors. So you have your standard compressor, but then you also could do a FET compressor, an opto compressor. Down here we have VCA compressors. All those are different compressors and all of them sound different. And in this particular case, I actually love this VCA Smashed as a parallel compressor. Before we start, this is what this sounds like without the compressor. Okay, and with the compressor. I mean, come on. That's crazy, right? So one thing, this is a great little learning tip with the compressor on, this new sound is way louder than the other sound. So we're gonna gain it down just a little bit. You don't want to use different volumes when you're trying to decide if something sounds good, because your ear naturally favors things that are louder. So we want to try to match the overall volume. Now, compressor is going to take the transient down and turn the body up. So the uncompressed track might hit a little bit harder, but the overall volume is going to be a little bit lower. So we're going to try to match the overall volume between the two best we can, and I'll show you what I mean. So turn this off. So the main sound is kind of hitting right, kissing that yellow. The exact hits are going past that, but the compressor is going to be turning those down. So when we put the compressor on, we want to just be right around that yellow. This is pretty good. Let's see if these sound close. Even just a little bit more. Turn this back up. Okay, so now listening back and forth, without it, with it. So to me, it adds a little more color, which we're going to get into next week. This is a little bonus. We're already getting some color from this, because when you really drive a compressor, it distorts a little bit, and it gives you way more body and punch. Okay, so I love this setting. All I do is kind of gain it so I can check it and make sure I think it sounds good. You can play with the threshold, so it will compress more or less, but I already know that I think this sounds great, so we're just going to go with it, and we're going to mix it in the way we have everything else. So we're going to listen to everything together, and I'm just going to bring up the level until I think it sounds good, and that's what we're going to go with. That's awesome. It's crazy what good parallel compression does. Parallel compression is often a big part of my kick and snare sound in particular. So as we're listening to it, I'm going to show you without and then with it, and I'm just going to kind of toggle back and forth. You just hear the drums better. They have more punch. They actually have a little more clarity, even though we're not adding to the transient. We're just adding to the total body of the drum sound. So parallel compression, add a little more punch to your drums, change the world. If this video is helpful for you, be sure to like it, subscribe to the channel. Every week we're going to be back with new videos giving you new tips. In the next video, we're going to be showing you how to add color and make your drums sound way more real and organic and not digital the way they sound right now. Right now they're perfect. We're going to add a little more color so they sound a little more real. So be sure to watch that video and download the guide I mentioned earlier, description below, and we'll see you soon with another video.
One thing at a time, I can only